Okay, hi.
Hey,
Uh,
how's your
How are
week
you?
been?
It has been really well. I got my taxes done,
Ooh,
which yes, they were behind from being sick. I just was surviving, so I didn't care about those. So
mm,
that was a lot of that was a lot weighing on me.
yeah.
And nothing was organized about it. So I got my paperwork organized. I met with my tax lady. Dan and I are building a shop. We got our plans back on that. And it's been a great week. So
What shop are you building?
we're building a shop at our house. I'm building a sound studio, and he is building his shop of dreams.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So um, everything has been really well this week. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
you released 5 pounds?
I did.
Look at
Yeah,
that.
I know.
Your
I
face,
was,
your face looks noticeably slimmer,
oh, well, thank you. I'll take it. um,
which could have to do with inflammation, you know?
yeah,
You're letting go of a
yeah,
lot of inflammation.
yeah. I think a lot of it too. I mean, if I'm honest, I think it's like stress, just releasing and coming back in, because I don't like feel it in my body at all, like in my clothes or anything. But like I don't feel as heavy
Mm,
stress wise. So I'm like,
mm. What
maybe that
happened?
was
What happened? Where'd all that stress go?
well, I did I did that shamanic healing the Friday before we started this, which
Oh.
really set me in my power that I
Mm.
didn't realize was happening. And then starting this allowed me to structure in my power. And so, really, just playing with that, like I am feeling more into myself and more centered and grounded. Um, that's what I was telling somebody the other day. I was like, it's like my feet are magnets on the ground now. I don't feel like I'm so like, who the fuck am I and what the fuck am I doing? Like I feel more centered in. So
Wow.
yeah.
I I um I love that you said I'm into myself.
Yeah.
That's normally something that's considered like egotistical,
Oh, yeah.
right? Oh, they're so
No.
into themselves, or at
Oh,
least we at
yeah.
least we used to say that in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
But you're saying it like in the highest way. Like
Yeah.
what is
That's
it
how it
like?
feels.
What's it like to be into yourself?
Well, it feels very freeing. And like that working in true choice, I did it again today with a person that reached out to work with me. And normally I would have been like, oh, just do it, Tiffany, because it's an experience and you don't know what's on the other side. And I was like, no, that's a no for me. Like I felt the no, I knew the no, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Mm,
And they were like, what? Like they were expecting the yes. And I was like,
because
that's,
that's what they're used to.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
What was it
So,
like for you? What was it like for you to say no?
well, this is what I'm experiencing, Lorraine, is what I'm finding is really interesting about this. And I don't want to say this in a way that it would normally come off, but it's like I don't fucking care. Like it's not like I don't care about them or I don't care about the situation. It's I'm not attached to it. I'm not
Mm.
attached to whatever. So I'm like, this is a wild
It's really
experience.
freeing. It makes sense that, you'd feel free and light when you're not attached to things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because when you're not attached to things,
Yeah,
it allows you that freedom to move and float and go wherever because
for
you're not
sure. Yeah.
attached to it.
And when I was at that event on Saturday, it was like I said hello to the first person that greeted me. And the way I said hello, I was like, well, that felt fake. And I was like, huh. And then the next person, fake. Next person, fake. And I was like, whoa, this is not how I'm wanting to show up. Like, why am I here? And then I was like, these people aren't here. This isn't my realm anymore. These aren't my people anymore. And I just literally grabbed my stuff and was like, I'm out. And I was like, well, that was really easy. Instead of being like, oh, Tiffany, just stay an hour. Then you were there and it's fine. I was just like, no, 15, 20 minutes. And I was like, this is a no. And I'm out. So yeah, it feels really feels good. It feels fun. It uh, it feels confident
Wow.
is what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
It's confident and trusting.
What's that trusting feeling like?
The trusting is eliminating that knowing that I keep saying that I'm searching for. Like, I just want that knowing. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't have that chatter of like wanting to know if it's the right choice or if it's not, or it's just, it is. Like, if I'm tuning in and I'm truly listening, it is.
It is trust.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's the difference between when you're tuned in and truly listening, and so then you have trust, and the other thing? Like, what's the difference in how it feels?
It's that confident piece, that trusting, that I
Like, how can you differentiate like between like, well, this is tuned in and this is not tuned in. This is coming from some other place. How do you know what to trust?
it doesn't feel heavy. Like that feels heavy when
Mm-hmm.
I'm in that. But when I'm
Heavy.
trusting,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, when I'm trusting, that feels confident and that feels like secure and like free, right? Like it's nothing to hold me to something, it's just
Yeah. Except for those magnets connecting you to the ground,
right.
the earth.
Which I'll just take that energy exchange from Mother Earth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's somehow different. Those magnets to the earth is different from that attached feeling, that
Yes.
other attached feeling.
Yes.
What's different about it?
It is the that magnet feeling feels like we are secure, we are bonded, we are
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Secure,
I feel
bonded.
like I've worked a lot through my root chakra is what I feel
Yeah.
like is exploding right now.
Safety, security,
Mm-hmm.
the second
That
chakra.
foundation, that like solidness. Because that's
Yeah.
when
Solid.
when we had talked, we focused in on solid, and I was like, "What is that?" Okay, well now I'm understanding what that feels like, right? Like I brought
Feels like
awareness.
magnets to the earth.
It's like magnets to the earth. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Bonded. It sounds like you've gone, some second chakra stuff as well, that
Mm-hmm.
bonded and the trust.
Yes.
Um, what I'm hearing is, I is it okay if I share some of
Yeah.
the things that like I'm piecing
Sure.
together, and you can let me know if it resonates. I'm hearing you say, some of the things that I'm saying, that you're saying, it all is ringing belonging to me. And then we could also go up to third chakra as well. But just at this level, you could go to a party and feel, I don't connect. I'm not really, and that you feel connected enough with yourself, your energy, what like feels right for you, belonging to yourself, that you're like, yeah, I don't need to people please. I don't need to be something else. I don't need to like work on like getting myself to sound more real. I just need to be like, oh yeah, I don't think I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't my place. And because
Yep.
I know there is a place, I don't need to pretend.
Absolutely.
So I'm feeling that second chakra, like belonging, that watery emotion piece. And then third chakra, that confidence, that your own individual like will and sense of self, and your wants, your desires. And again, at the party, it's like, yeah, this is a no. I don't need to feel any kind of way about it. I'm completely unattached, except
Yeah.
to like what's speaking to me, third chakra right here.
Yeah.
What's speaking to
Yeah.
me? What is my will, my desire, want? What is
Yeah.
best for me? Because I matter.
Yes. What is my yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you.
I think there's a lot of throat happening too, and speaking what I want.
Ooh.
When I did uh, that shamanic healing on that Friday before, that was a lot of fear releasing, and
Mm-hmm.
yet I couldn't vocalize that, and it took a while to get that throat open and to express that. So and using that too, right? Like opening up these lowers and then speaking is really a totally different person than from February. Yeah.
Yay! Different
Yeah.
February.
Yeah. Yes.
Very cool. I love it. So, Tiffany, are there any areas where you've been feeling like resistance or just like things coming up?
Um, Food is a challenge for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the gastroparesis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have I don't know how fast I'm going to digest stuff, and it's a toss up. So uh like the other day, it's gastroparesis is not pretty. Um it's There's no digestion, and it just comes up, and it's terrible. So anyways, some days I need to just fast. And so that's hard for me. However, the other day when I thought that I should probably fast, I just did liquid like smoothies to make my goal. I don't know if that was the best situation to do or not, but I did it. That's my challenge. That's where I find the resistance.
Yeah.
So
So when you do smoothies, does it make it so that it does not
it
back
just
up?
sits. Yeah, it just sits.
So it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Is it certain uh, foods? Like, how does what's the short version of how that works?
So the short version is that gastroparesis is uh, your digestion
Mm-hmm.
paralysis, and so there's no contractions happening. It's I Mine is due from type 1 diabetes damage. So it just sits there until it decides that it wants to come back online and start moving again. So my diet really I don't eat raw stuff like raw vegetables or things like that, because that's hard to digest. It's more soft, like pureed stuff is
Yeah.
where I have to go. But sometimes even that is just not good.
Got
So
it. Got it.
yeah.
So I know that you set that goal of 2 fruits, 3 vegetables.
Hmm.
And with that goal, is it, I'm curious the why behind that goal.
My why was because I wanted to make sure that I was getting my proper nutrition from like natural sources.
Yeah.
Um, because I tend to like rice is very easy for me. Rice is a very easy thing. So I eat a lot of rice, but
Yeah.
there's like no nutrition, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
so that was more my like why behind it. I can work around it. It's just figuring out how to do that because I want to do that. So
Yeah.
um, maybe it's just that I do a few days of just liquids, just to allow for that reset to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And also just honoring when I can't do it,
Yeah.
when it's not available. So,
Got it.
yeah.
All right. Hey, Catherine.
Oh, there's a pretty face.
I know. You look great in that red. You're muted though. You're muted, Catherine. Can you take yourself off mute? We missed all of that joy.
I know.
No, I said my cardinal red. See,
Oh,
cardinal.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and your red lipstick too.
Yeah. We they had they barbecued hot dogs and had a nacho bar at the office, and everybody wore their Cardinals attire.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. So just kind of fun, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't gonna eat a hot dog and nachos, but it smelled and looked good, so I gave in. I'm
Well,
like, "Oh, it's a holiday."
that doesn't go against it doesn't go against your goals at all, right?
Not officially, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, sorry for joining late.
Hey, Parissa. Glad you're here.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, let's see. Catherine, you were not here Tuesday. Tiffany, you were not here Tuesday. Were you able to watch the replay?
I have 30 minutes of the replay left. I got,
Got
yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. And what about you, Catherine?
I watched half of it.
Half of it? All right.
And then I watched those other 2 videos that you told us to
You
watch.
did watch those. Good, good, good.
Yeah.
Tiffany, Parissa, were you able to watch those other 2 videos that I sent?
Yes.
Parissa was Parissa was in one of them.
Yeah, I've watched them.
I don't know if you guys watched, but
I did. I didn't even realize you were in there. I did see Oh, wait.
I didn't realize it either.
Yep. Yep.
I didn't realize that she was in there either, but I seen Cindy in there. I was like, oh, hey, look at you showing
Oh,
up.
you know Cindy?
I do.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was in the other video. So Parissa
Yeah.
doesn't know Cindy.
Oh.
At first, it confused me with the video. I'm like, did Lorraine color her hair red?
Yeah, I was looking back and I was like, man, my skin looks really tight. That was just 2020 and 2021.
Well, I figure that's 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to check in with you all, just see where you're at, see if you have any questions about like any of the processes that you've been learning how to implement it, how to do it. Just open it up to any kinds of questions that you have. I'm particularly interested in you, Catherine. Like that's been one of the questions um, in the last class that we were in, and we went into the breakout rooms. I was wondering what it was like for you if you were able to connect to your body and the feelings, sensations, emotions inside your body. So if you don't mind, I'd love to start off there and just see what that's been like for you, because I know this is different. It's different for you. And I kind of feel like I've thrown you into the deep water and said, swim. Yeah.
When we
How's
were
that going?
when we were asking questions to our partner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And right before we went into the breakout rooms, I had done a process with you to feel into your body, like where you feel your yes, where you feel your no, and you felt contraction in different places with your no, and like a knots in your stomach kind of thing. And then with your yes, you had like um, blue and green swirling in your throat, and um, pink in your chest, and orange in your hips, which is really interesting, Catherine, because I know you that you know nothing about chakras. Am I right?
Right.
Energy centers. And
Hmm.
what's interesting is the colors you were picking up are colors that psychic people that read energy, that read auras, um, they were seeing particular colors associated with the chakras, which go in order of a rainbow. And so those colors got associated with the chakras. And that's what you were picking up on.
Hmm.
So green is traditionally the heart chakra, but pink is another one that's used for the heart chakra. And then blue at the throat. And then you've got indigo at the third eye, which is like a combination of like a bluish purple, but you got that blue and green at the throat, the green coming from the heart chakra. Sacral chakra, orange. So I thought that was really interesting that you were picking up on that and you've never learned any of this.
Hmm. That
Yeah.
is interesting.
Yeah. So
Huh.
so I'm curious what it was like for you in the breakout room. You were in there with Kristen, and I'm wondering if you were able to replicate feeling and sensing into your body in that room, or anytime after that during the week with your interconnection practice. What has that been like for you?
No, we didn't really. No, it didn't really work very well with us going into the room, to be
No.
honest.
No.
No. We
uh,
talked.
oh, you talked.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I asked her a couple questions. She asked me a couple questions, and then we just kind of talked.
You just kind of talked instead. Okay. All right. This is choose your own adventure, right? And of course, I have things that I'm wanting to share because um I have a lot of knowledge and experience, and I see what they do for people. And what often happens is people will go into a room and they they will talk instead. Because it's easier, and it comes more natural to want to connect with someone in the usual way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you did that. um and then I'd like to check in with Tiffany, you and Parissa more as well, but I want to state something because I've been thinking about things. You all know that this 30-day experience is experimental. I have not attempted to do everything that we're doing in a 30-day period and deciding, okay, what stays and what goes, and how am I going to rearrange it? And one of the things I did, because I wanted everyone to have like a big experience at the beginning, I flipped the order that I usually teach things. And I brought something to the beginning that normally I lay down work to build up to. And in doing so, also because I'm like, oh, we only have so much time and this is new, I also didn't lay a lot of context and foundation work around why we're doing this, why it's important, all of the science behind the stuff that I'm teaching, that it's not just some like weird, like, what is this thing where I'm just like feeling energy in my body? This is just kind of weird and woo woo. Yet this is actually cutting edge science. And this is what is on the cutting edge of trauma therapy, um, moving people from a place of PTSD or, whether that's in battle or whether it's our traumas that we've had growing up, traumas over and over and again. We've got big T trauma, and those are the big things we think of like being at war, growing up in an abusive household. And then we have the little things that maybe we think aren't that big, but they really impact us. They really affect us. And we're able to see that we do have big or little T trauma based on that list of 14 blocks that we had, right? Something happened to cause us to say, you know what, I'm just going to be small, invisible. I'm going to hold myself back. I'm going to keep myself from getting my goals. Like there's something in there. And so that's trauma. And the research over and over and over again shows that the way that you address trauma is through having awareness of your body. Being emotionally intelligent means being aware of your body, because that's where we feel our emotions, is in our bodies. And so if you have heard of the term dissociation, that means that you're outside of your body. And it doesn't feel safe to be in your body because then you have to feel stuff. And so what we tend to do, especially if we're spiritual or religious, is I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to think positive thoughts. And what that can do is it's called a spiritual bypass. Think of a highway, and a bypass is a shortcut from one highway to another highway. It goes like around the city or something like that, if I'm remembering correctly. So a bypass will connect two things and leaves out this other piece over here at this city. And so a spiritual bypass, which we could also call an emotional bypass, it's bypassing your emotions. And instead we're saying, think positive, think positive, think positive. But the problem with that is that it's presupposing that there's something to get away from, that there's something wrong, there's something bad that we need to stay away from. If I'm thinking positive, thinking positive. And so we want to look at, okay, what is this thing? And instead of feeling that we have to just be a certain way, we want to be authentic, which means that we're able to connect to all of the aspects of ourselves. And so to heal trauma, to live more soulfully, happily, authentically, we want to, number one, be connected to our body, right? Be aware of what's happening within us. Number two, we want a relaxed muscle body. We want a relaxed muscle body. And so if you notice that there's constriction, tightness, tension, then those are signals that there's something going on for us to look at. If there's knots, if there's heaviness, these are all signs of constriction and restriction rather than expansion, right? Expansion is growth, openness. This is the highest vibration of emotion. And contraction means that there are low vibration emotions underneath the surface, but we're just not looking at them. We're not exploring them. And so we want to be able to explore those so that we can bring those things that have been pushed down within us, the things that when we're not consciously trying to be positive, we've got that critical voice that's coming up, that wounded inner child, that programming, that conditioning that says, that was so stupid. Why'd you do that? You should have known better. That's reading into the situations around us and saying, oh, they think I'm an idiot. They don't respect me. I'm not getting that promotion because I'm not good enough. Or the victim, I'm not getting that because I'm a woman. I'm not getting that because I'm too old, too big, too small, too this, too that, right? So those voices, those beliefs that think I'm too much or I'm not enough, those are things that cause like constriction, tightness. And that goes into emotions, the low vibration emotions of like blame, shame, sadness, hopelessness. And we're going to look at that level of emotions, the vibration. We're going to look at that after the break. But I just wanted to like put that in there, that like this is what the science shows. And not only is the science proving this over and over again, if we look back at spiritual teachings from around the world, thousands of years old, it speaks to this as well. Particularly the Vedas, but we can also look back to ancient Egyptian teachings. And it all talks about how we can manifest the things that we want in our lives. And so, and that's through excavating these things that are hidden in the shadows, the unconscious, which is 90% of ourselves, our motivations, everything, and bringing those to the light, bringing those to the surface. So we have access to more parts of ourselves. So we have that communication between our unconscious minds, so we can get our unconscious minds to work for us rather than against us, so we don't self-sabotage. It's helping us move towards what it is that we want in life, so that you can have all of the things that you want in life, all the things that you're willing to put effort into making happen. Yeah, because it doesn't just happen magically just from visualizing it. So yeah, so we want to be in touch with our emotions, be able to speak to our emotions, and have that emotional intelligence. And the portal to that is in the body. So we're going to be focusing more on emotions today. But I just want to like talk to you all, check in, see if there's any questions, make sure everything's making sense before we go to the next part.
I'm glad you're explaining it. That helps.
Yeah. Good. Are there any other like any questions in addition to what I said? Because I know there's more that I could say, but I'm not thinking of it right now. And I just want to make sure that it's making sense to you.
I have no questions.
No questions. Okay.
No.
What about you, Parissa?
Um, I am just thinking about fun and how, unfortunately, like when you're at peace and there's intention in you or around you, it feels boring. And I hate to say it, but like accepting boring, I guess, is important. Or how do we make a healthy lifestyle fun? Because, like, I was thinking also about like relationship building and how to have depth, quality with your relationships when you're in such a good place, you know? So, if you want to speak to that.
So you're saying that peace, the good place that you're talking about is peace. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah. So when you're
yes.
like peaceful and calm, it's kind of boring. And then you're like, how do relationships come in? What do relationships uh, represent to you?
Connection, feeling like you belong, sense of community, friendship, romance, and family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, feeling like when I experience something with someone else, it can be magnified to like a different experience than if I were experiencing by myself, maybe like usually, maybe not always.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's like making memories, and then like, you know, if you live the rest of your life alone, like you might forget certain components of your life, but if you shared, so that's like the relationship part, like making memories with people. And I'm just wondering like about the depth of those experiences if like both of you are just like so at peace. And I don't want to negate peace because peace is a good thing and it's healthy. And I don't want to negate good and health. I'm just like, I'm just, I was raised in this world. Like, I'm a product of my environment. And the dramatic tends to be like conflict. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what I hear you saying is, um, correct me if I'm wrong, that it sounds like you're saying that peace is the goal and there's not room for conflict in that. Yeah. Um, and it makes sense that you would say that because that's what most people are wanting when they're coming to like healing work, coaching. They're like, I just want to be happy. I just want to have peace.
Mm,
And what the message that I want to have come across is that those are not things that you're going to have all the time because you're human, because you have a human body with all these things stored in there that get triggered, and for you to explore. And so, conflict in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's what we do with it,
I
right?
see.
Conflict actually can serve a really great role in our lives, as can anger,
Mm,
which we'll,
mm,
which we'll be talking about later on, right? They can serve roles to bring us higher. They can be really strong motivators. And as you know from the course we did, I know it was a long time ago, back in 2021, we talked a lot more about relationships and like the if that were broken into like three parts, that would have been the second part of that. And one of the presuppositions in that is that conflict always has the ability to bring us closer to other people, to create deeper connection, is through the conflict.
mm, mhm,
If we're willing to go there, if we're willing to have a honest, open conversation where
mm,
we're utilizing all of the things that we're learning in here, things that you learned in the relationship portion of that, taking ownership, using I feel rather than you did this. As long as we're not blame, shaming, justifying, as long as we're not letting resentments come over and take over us, as long as we're only committed to our own point of view and not committed to really getting someone else's world, like those are the things that are going to create trauma, right? Yet when we're coming from responsible, or when we're communicating responsibly, where you weren't on the call earlier, but Tiffany was talking about, oh my God, she's just like, she's like really having like profound shifts. And some of those shifts she shared in the group chat around showing up in a couple different places and tuning in is like, this is a no. I'm a no. Like, I'm not really feeling the people. I'm not really feeling the vibe. I'm going to go. And what's coming up hearing that so far?
That really taking ownership of our triggers, our traumas, and seeing them as opportunities to form deep connections with people, as long as, I suppose, all parties are willing to have an honest and open conversation. Conflict can bring us closer.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to drive us apart.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be both people that know how to have an open and honest conversation. It only takes one.
Okay.
And you get choices based on what unfolds. Yeah. It's amazing what can happen with someone that's got a regulated nervous system, that's coming from responsible, and the impact that they can bring to a situation. There was this one time that there was this woman that showed up in my life. I'd been in a ceremony with her husband, and then he wanted to get professional work with me, and he got such profound change so quickly that she was like, he's in love with Lorraine. That's the only reason why he would have healed so quickly and like be so different and be so attentive to me now and all these things, because he's having an affair, he feels guilty, all of those things. And so she ended up like friending me on social media, showing up to where I would like go to church on Sundays, and just we had similar circles, so it wasn't like, okay, yeah, I get it. But just like her energy was so much of like, hey, I want to be your friend, like, and I'm just like, this doesn't feel clean, this energy does not feel clean the way that she's wanting to like attach and connect with me. And it wasn't until like a year later that the truth came out, and we were at this event, and everyone was being like super snuggly. It was a medicine ceremony, and I typically stay away from men that are partnered, like my friends, because of things that can happen both in women's minds and in men's minds. And But I was like, you know what? Everyone's being all this way. And there was a sharing circle, and I just leaned back against his leg, and she said, "Get yourself off of my man." And I don't know what else she said. And she stormed out, and she was like a bat out of hell. And I followed her out, and she was raging like demonic, like a demon coming out,
Oh,
like close to like hitting me, and you know, like it was, woo, I'd never seen anything like that. And I knew I didn't do, I knew hadn't done anything wrong. And that's when it came out, where she's like, "I know you've been having an affair with my husband and this and that. And I'm a human lie detector. I can tell when people are lying. I know the truth." And I just held space for her. I practiced being with, which we talked about in the videos. I practiced being with and letting her get all of that out. She's been pushing all of that rage down and spiritually bypassing and pretending like everything's okay when it wasn't. And she got all of that out. I happened to be the one that was on the receiving end on that. And luckily, I know how to transmute energy. So I was able to just take that energy and just let it move through and out into something else. And so, and I listened to her until she felt understood. I was like, is there anything else? I encouraged her to express even more. I mirrored back what I heard her saying. And once she'd calmed down and she felt complete, then I said, "Can I share my perspective on this? Can I share my truth?" And even like asking multiple times, getting her to say yes. Like, are you going to be open to hearing me out without interrupting, without reacting? Preparing her, right? I'm preparing her so that she has to agree to this if she wants to hear, right? And so yes, yes, yes. And I explained it, and because she'd gotten it out, she completely heard me, and she was apologizing. I didn't even have to say much. She was apologizing to me. And to this day, she says I have been her biggest spiritual teacher. And she doesn't know how I put up with her, that anyone else would have just clocked her or walked away. And so that was an act of love. That was an act of service that I did. And I didn't have to. I didn't have to do that. I did, though. And now her and her husband, they have a great relationship. But obviously, it was not great for a while. And so that was an example of like being able to move through conflict, and only one person has the skills and tools. Now, if she were to continue every time I saw her having blow-ups and stuff like that, there would, I'd reach a point where I'd just stop her and say, "Listen, this isn't going to work for me." I had to do that with a friend like a year or so ago, because they were going through a really hard time and wanted support, but would always be agitated, frustrated. They like that was kind of just a part of their personality that I used to help them with, that I used to help them understand and get reflections on, like, how they're being and how they're impacting other people and see other people's point of view. And I had to get to a point in this relationship where I'm like, I'm not going to do that anymore, because I've been playing this role of like mother, big sister, you know, and now with everything that you're going through, you need extra support. But now you're having temper tantrums and you're taking it out on me. And I'm getting hurt over and over. And I can't do that. I'm not going to do that to myself. I'm going to choose me over you. Because either I continue to show up the way that I showed up for them and give them what they need, and by doing so sacrifice myself, right? We put ourselves on the cross. We sacrifice ourselves. And I'm like, I'm not going to sacrifice myself. You've got to figure this out. Because it's not just affecting me, it's affecting a whole bunch of other people, and it's not okay anymore. And, you know, I had a somewhat emotional weekend because I found out I didn't get invited to that person's birthday party. And I know how much their birthday parties mean to them and how much it has meant for me to be at their parties in the past. And I didn't even get an invitation this time, which is sad for me, you know, because I didn't shoot down the relationship. I just said, this cannot continue to happen. And when you can have a conversation about this, where there's room for me, where it can be reciprocal, where you can hear me out, because I just didn't have the bandwidth for it. I'm like, I don't know where we're supposed to go if you don't have the bandwidth to talk to me about this. And so that's an example where conflict and boundaries meant that there was separation in that relationship, where it didn't get deeper. We moved further apart. Right? So that's why I said there's always the possibility. Conflict brings the possibility of deepening our relationships. The other thing that can happen is that something that's not healthy for us will move out of our lives. And it takes that unattachment that Tiffany was talking about earlier. That's where I was going with it. Tiffany was telling that story, how she just left, and she's like, no attachment, no guilt, no shame, just like, no, this is what I'm doing for me. No fear of like, oh my God, what is everyone going to think of me? Am I hurting someone's feelings? Just let it go. Just like, I'm unattached. Yeah. Unattachment doesn't mean that we don't care. It just means that we're not carrying that thing with us. So there's an old Buddhist parable of two Buddhist monks walking through the woods years and years ago. And there was a woman that needed help. And the monks had rules where they're not allowed to touch women because of the temptation, everything it can get, and even like taking on energy. You know, Buddhists will practice just being in their own energy and not touching. That's your the hands like this, the namaste hands. This means, you know, I recognize you, but like I'm not embracing in a hug, because I'm practicing being in my own energy and not taking on the energies of people around me. So this woman needed help in the woods, and this one monk went and helped her out. He picked her up, carried her, got her on her way, and she was very grateful. And then the two monks, they go on their way, and they're walking a couple miles, and the other monk was noticeably irritated about something. And finally he said something, and he's like, I can't believe you did that. We took vows not to touch women, and you went and you touched her, and the other monk said, "You're still carrying that with you? I left that back there, and you've been carrying it for the past 2 miles emotionally, right? Stewing in it, like, ah." But the other one is like, "I did it. I moved on. I'm not carrying that anymore. I'm unattached to it." So it's the things that we're carrying that do no good for us to carry, to let that go. Like Tiffany, um, in the past, how might you have, when you left a party like that, what might you have carried with you?
I would have carried with me, like, I should have stayed later. I shouldn't have, like, gotten my feelings about that. Like, I would have put them first.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then I would have stewed over that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why are you doing that? You knew you didn't want to be there. Why did you even go in the first place?
Mm-hmm. And when you have all of those thoughts, what are the emotions that go with it?
That's that shame and guilt and blame.
Mm-hmm. When you have that shame, guilt, blame, and all those thoughts where you're doubting and questioning yourself, what does that cause you to do then? How does that change your behavior?
It keeps me small.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't allow me to show up as me
Mm-hmm.
because I'm settling essentially
Yep. And so
for
then,
something that isn't serving.
so you've had this shift within you,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, nope, I just did it. I didn't carry any of that with you. And instead of that feeling small,
Mm-hmm.
what's it been like for you now? You were sharing with me before everyone else got on.
Yeah, it's that confidence, that standing tall, standing in myself, standing, just honoring myself and what is aligned for me.
Yeah. And you had talked about the magnets.
Oh yeah, like just feeling that grounded feeling of being connected to myself, right? Connected in what is for me and what am I doing? Like, what do I want to create? How do I want to create it? And now I feel like I am, like, planted on the ground, and, like, I can move forward instead of, like, floating around going, well, maybe this will work or maybe this is that. It's more just connected, grounded, centered, like, we can move forward.
Yeah.
Structured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catherine, Parissa, what comes up for you hearing all this?
I think about the container analogy. And so she's providing her own container. And then I thought of that saying, contain yourself, right? Like in books that I'd read, like when I was in middle school, like a character would say, contain yourself. And now I'm starting to understand what that means.
Mm. Mm. Containment is like masculine energy.
Hmm.
And we all have feminine and masculine, right? Balance. Containment is like um, making a safe space for all the chaos of that the feminine can be. So I want to talk about this idea of be, have, do. Have you all heard of be, do, have?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea there is, in order for you to have what you want, right? That's the end. First, you have to be it. You have to be this identity. You have to be um you have to be a match to that version of yourself that has what it takes to contain that, to hold that, to um, be solid in it. So often we want things that if we were to get that now, we wouldn't even know how to maintain it, how to keep it. I don't know if you all have heard about lottery winners. The majority of lottery winners, when they win millions of dollars, they find themselves broke within like 7 years or 10 years or something like that, and worse off than they were before they won the lottery, because they don't yet have the emotional skills or the self-knowing or the solidness, the magnets on the ground, feeling the safety and security, the knowing who they are to be able to handle that kind of money. And so they just blow it. They give it to people to make people like them. It blows up their relationships. And so we need to be in order to get to the have. And so that's why you might have heard me talk about beingness. What is our beingness? How are you being? And so what we typically hear is be, then you got to take the inspired action and then have. And I want to mix that around a little bit. So that it's be, have, do. Be, have, do. So being is the qualities and characteristics of yourself, from your intuition, from your higher self, and how source sees you. That's the being, right? So you might have heard me in various questions. What are the qualities and characteristics you suppressed? What are the qualities and characteristics that you need to embody in order to be this version of yourself? So it's these qualities and characteristics of ourselves that are coming from source, from God, from intuition, from our higher self. That is the being, right? We need to be that. That means I'm feeling. Beyonce has an alter ego called Sasha Fierce. In order for her to get on stage, because she gets terrible stage fright, she has to embody Sasha Fierce. Vanessa, she has an alter ego that she puts on whenever she needs to do her classes and her an aspect of the work that she does. And a lot of famous people, performers, they have an alter ego that they put on in order for them to be this version of themselves that can be on stage and light up a room and like run a business, like whatever that is. And so that's the be. And then there's the have. We have to have the positive thoughts, emotions, attitudes, the mindset, the physical objects, right? That's the have. That's the have that we want. So we're going to be, have that. So as if it's already here, as if it's so, and then we're going to do the inspired actions. So it just kind of flips it a little bit, maybe a little perspective. And so how do you find these, right? So with the being, you want to ask yourself, what are the qualities and characteristics that you want to be? So let's start with that. When you think about, we're halfway to the end of our goal now. We've got 2.5 weeks left. And when you see yourself as that version that you want to be, whether you anticipate you can be her in 2.5 weeks or not, or in 2.5 months, right? When you see that version of yourself, what are the qualities and characteristics of who you want to be? So go ahead and write those down. Those positive qualities and characteristics. And so these are our positive projections. We've talked about projection before, and we usually think of it as the negative things that we're projecting onto the world, the negative things that we're projecting onto people, but we have positive projections. And so these are the positive projections, and these are the seeds of your genius. The seeds of your genius lie in these positive projections of yourself, these positive thoughts and emotions about yourself. So write down, what are the positive thoughts and emotions as you're being those qualities and characteristics, those positive qualities and characteristics? What are the positive thoughts and emotions that you have? About yourself, about your connection to God, to Source, how you're being supported. Your positive thoughts and emotions about maybe how easy it is, what life's like now that you feel secure and confident, connected. These positive projections. All right. And so now, when you are that, what will you have? So this is the have part. When you are that, all of those positive projections of yourself, all those positive qualities and characteristics, when you are that, what will you have? What are those positive thoughts, emotions, attitudes, mindsets, physical things? What will you have? All right. So then we're to the do part. So here's the question. When you are being that, and you have those things, right? So you're being that and you have those things, what will you do differently? If you're wondering what exactly that looks like, it's like what we were talking about with Tiffany earlier. Before 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, before, Tiffany would have had all those thoughts in her head, the shame, the guilt, the less than, and then she would have made herself small. But what's different is she's being confident, centered, self-knowing. She has that connection with her compass, her inner yes or no, the value and worth of her time, the feeling of being grounded to the earth, that clarity. And so what she's doing differently is doing what's best for her, taking care of her needs. So that's an example of the be, have, do. The thoughts, emotions, behaviors. So when you're being that and have those, what will you be doing differently? Go ahead and wrap that up. And I'd love to hear your shares about that. And I muted you also. If you want to share, just unmute yourself.
Mine was a lot of what you shared in your example of me. My do, though, for me was that I would be standing in true choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was the being? What were those qualities and characteristics?
The being was being focused and being aligned and in tuned.
Mm-hmm. And when you're focused on being, when you're focused, aligned, and in tune,
Mm-hmm.
what are the positive thoughts and emotions?
That was a new sense of power and understanding of myself.
Mm-hmm. This is power and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So power is a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding is a process, I'd say. What's are the positive feelings?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this. When you
Yeah.
understand yourself, how do you feel?
I think what was coming up for me was the confident.
Confident.
It feels confident. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when you're confident, how do you feel?
Well, that was weird. Safe is what came up.
Safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And when you're safe, what do you feel?
Home.
So when you're safe, confident, powerful, when you are aligned, focused, and you understand yourself, then what do you have?
Peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you have the peace, the power, the confidence, the safety, the focus, the confidence, the solidness, the security, what will you do differently?
Two things are coming up. The first thing that came up was like the world is my oyster. And then well, I don't even remember now what the other thing was.
So with the world being your oyster.
Like just taking risk and putting myself out there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you know that the world is your oyster and you're taking risks, then what will you have?
That feels just more like a deeper connection into myself.
Yeah. And when you have the deeper connection with yourself, the world's your oyster, you're taking risks, then going back to that, then what will you do differently? What specifically will you do differently when you're taking risks? You know the world is your oyster and you're deeply connected to yourself. That's it. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to sit with that.
Go ahead and sit with that. Yeah. Cool. So, Parissa, do you want to share next?
Yes, I'd love to. I said the qualities and characteristics, curious, classy, contained, connected to self and the collective subconscious. I would have like, well, then I said the world and life is beautiful. Age is just a number. People are inherently good. Courage. The world is big. I bring so much to the table.
Mm.
The have, enchantment, zeal for life, love and lust, youth, high vibration, high spirit, safety in myself, enjoyment of/with others, gratitude, embracing the little things. And then finally, what I would do is I'll choose grounded and regulated romantic partners. I'll more easily/naturally transmute chaotic energy which is something I'm really interested in learning more about. I'll volunteer my time to a social cause. I'll step into a leadership role in my circle, community, not because I want power, but because I'm contained, curious, and connected.
Awesome. Love those. So when you are choosing grounded, regulated partner, what do you have?
I have the opportunity to deepen the relationship.
Mm-hmm. What do you have?
Security.
Security. Mm-hmm. And when you have security, what do you have?
Pleasure.
Ooh,
Pleasure.
pleasure. What's so important about pleasure?
Pleasure is good for the body. It's good for the soul. It's good for your emotional well-being.
My emotional well-being or yours?
Pleasure is good for my emotional well-being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Pleasure is light.
It's light. So when you have that pleasure, when you have that light, when you're making choices that are good for yourself, stepping into leadership, having that security, how will you feel?
I will feel empowered, validated.
Mhm. When you're empowered and validated, how will you feel?
Loving.
Mhm. Loving towards who?
Toward myself and those around me.
What's it like to be loving towards yourself?
It's lighthearted. It's it's companionship within myself, from myself.
Mm-hmm. And when you have that companionship within yourself, that lightheartedness, um, how do you feel?
Satisfied.
Satisfied? What else?
Sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Adventurous.
Adventurous. Where do you feel that adventurousness in your body? That adventurousness and pleasure.
From my crown to my heart.
Ooh, yeah. What does that feel like, look like, sound like, feel like?
It looks like glitter sparkling, and it feels like I'm buzzing with like this frequency.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Great. Awesome. Thanks, Carissa. But what about you, Catherine? Oh, you're muted, Catherine. Sorry. I muted everyone.
Um, might be I put positive person, not negative, non-judgmental, um, be on time, um, be in control, and be organized, be healthy in various areas,
Mm.
what I eat and exercise,
Yeah.
and be grateful.
Awesome. What are the qualities and characteristics of someone that's positive?
Are happy,
Mm.
generally a happy person.
Happy. What else?
And I think I'm mostly positive person,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
but I think being judgmental of others can make you a negative person.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, define judgment to me.
Um maybe comparing yourself to other people that um because maybe they're different than you or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Which I mean they could do the same back, right?
Yeah.
I'm different than them.
Comparison for differences.
Huh?
Would that also mean when you say comparing because they're different, could that also be mean things that you like about other people? Like what their body looks like?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a form of judgment?
Um, it is, yeah.
Mm. Hmm. So that's a form of judgment to compare yourself to other people that you would like to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's it like for you to say that?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't like doing that. It doesn't make you feel good to compare yourself to others rather than just being accepting of yourself,
Hmm.
right? If you don't like something about it yourself, then I guess it's up to you to change it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So being positive means not doing that. So then if you do that, does that mean you're not being positive?
Mm. I don't know. I guess it depends on what you're thinking.
That's what I'm asking, what you're thinking.
Um, I guess you can have positive thoughts towards that, but don't compare yourself to others.
Okay. All right. So how does that work to have positive thoughts like that without the comparison?
Mind over matter, I guess.
What do you mean by mind over matter?
Don't allow yourself to go um in that direction of thinking negative thoughts about yourself.
Mm-hmm. So if you're not allowing yourself to do that, what are you doing instead?
You're having positive thoughts, right?
Like what? What are those positive thoughts? What are those positive thoughts and emotions? You're doing great.
Um, I mean, just to think of nice things about yourself, you know,
Yeah.
whether it be
So what are those positive thoughts and emotions that you have about yourself when you're being this version of you?
hmm, I don't know. I just try not to think about it, to be honest, because that way I don't have negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I guess that's just how I don't know. It's easier not to go there because then you don't have those negative thoughts. You
It's
don't,
easier it's easier not to have the positive thoughts and emotions.
it's easier not to compare yourself to others because then you don't have the positive or the negative thoughts, I guess.
Yeah. So that's a good point. Yeah. So when you're not comparing yourself to others, and so you're not having the negative or positive thoughts about others, what are the positive thoughts and emotions that you have about yourself?
Just more at peace and acceptable of, I think, just living life.
Yeah. Living life. So when you are um peaceful, acceptable, organized, healthy, grateful, happy, in control, um, then what are your positive thoughts and emotions about yourself?
Um, my halves, you mean?
Yeah, those would be your haves. Yeah.
Um, but when I am all these positive characteristics, I will have peace, less stress, more confidence, more enjoyment, security.
Beautiful. So, what are the qualities and characteristics of someone who's confident?
Um, they're happier.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, they're happier if they're confident.
Define happy.
Um, find happy. Well, happy is to me back to positive.
Mm-hmm. What does happiness represent to you?
Being at peace and acceptable, accepting life in general, how it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's twice that you said acceptable. Acceptable. How acceptable do you think you are right now? Let me ask it a different way. What qualities and characteristics about yourself do you think are unacceptable?
Mm.
What about yourself do you feel is unacceptable?
Um,
It's not going to be written down there. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm late a lot. I'm unorganized.
Mhm.
I'm lazy. I feel like I'm lazy because things are unorganized or I'm late. Um,
So when you think about these how unacceptable you are because you're late, unorganized, and lazy, how do you feel?
um, I mean, it doesn't make me feel good
Mm-hmm.
at all, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I mean, it makes me feel good when
How do you feel when you feel unacceptable because you're late, organized, lazy?
I feel unworthy,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
And when you think you're unworthy, how do you feel?
Um, not confident in the person that I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you think that you're not confident, unworthy, how do you feel?
Um, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it makes me feel sad.
There we go. Go on. That's the first feeling word we got. Sad.
Um, I guess kind of not worthy,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that sadness, where do you feel that sadness in your body?
In my mind, it's my mind that
Mm-hmm.
talks these negative thoughts.
Yeah. All those thoughts. Yeah. Where else do you notice that sadness in your body?
And it's really I feel like it's all in my head.
Mm-hmm. What do you notice when you tune into your chest?
Oh yeah, chest is heavy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What about your throat?
Yeah, that's the same. Tight.
Tight, like a lump?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. What about your belly, your upper belly?
Um,
That sadness.
yeah,
Hmm. What do you notice there?
bloated.
Mhm. The sadness feels bloaty.
Maybe that's why it's so bloaty.
Maybe. What about your low belly?
Yeah,
Are those knots there like they were last time?
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. So that sadness, that's an emotion. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good job getting in touch with your emotion
thank you.
and how it feels inside of you. And you connect to that sadness.
Mm-hmm.
And connecting to it doesn't mean it's going to be there all the time. It means that you're accepting life as it is, rather than trying to bypass it and only be positive, and then wonder why you keep messing up, why you don't have what you want. Does that make sense?
Repeat that.
So
Do you bypass the
yeah,
sadness
yeah.
and then keep
Can I
wondering?
can I share an observation that I've noticed as we,
Uh-huh.
Since we started this journey together,
Uh-huh.
is any pretty much any time I've asked you to tune into sadness or something, an undesirable emotion,
Mm-hmm.
you have been trying to get away from it.
That's because it makes me not feel good.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, none
It
of us
makes
want to
me it
not
makes
feel
me think about all the things I don't like about myself.
it. I know. I know. And yet, as we know from day one, there's that those voices are there constantly going. Well, I don't know about constantly, but they're there a lot, telling you all of these things that are wrong with you, how you're not enough, how you're not smart enough, how you're lazy, how you're not organized enough. You gave a whole list of things on day one and you said, I don't want this anymore. I want to get past this. I want to stop comparing myself and having all of this negative self-talk where I'm putting myself down and thinking I'm not enough, not pretty enough, not big-breasted enough, not interesting enough, not intelligent enough, not capable enough, smart enough, on time enough, organized enough, productive enough. All of these ways that these things are showing up day after day after day. And in order to transform that, like I hope Tiffany gives you an idea of like, wait, I can do that too. That's possible for me too. The way that I used to think and behave in these situations and the things that I used to do doesn't need to dictate my future. I can transform that. And I can truly be positive, because you're trying to be positive, trying like all the time. I'm trying to be positive. I'm envisioning myself being confident and positive, and you're keeping yourself from feeling the deeper stuff so that we can actually work on it and heal it.
I think it's hard if you don't believe in yourself, you know? So how do you get past that then?
Exactly what we're doing here, feeling it. Because to say, I don't believe in myself, but every time we attempt to get to know more about this, you say, well, I'm staying positive. I'm just thinking about being confident. Has that worked for you up until now?
No, because it's still there.
Yeah. So we know this
So it's like
strategy.
I try to mask it temporarily.
Yep. Yep. So we know that this strategy, this masking strategy, is not working for you. It's maybe even making it worse. Because how do you feel about yourself when you're not able to be positive all the time? When you're not able to live up to this thing, this way of being that you think you should be? How do you feel about yourself?
Negative about myself. I'm not worthy enough. Why would anybody like me?
Yeah, those are the negative thoughts, because worthy is a decision, it's a conclusion. I have concluded I am not worthy. I'm going to throw this out there. Tell me how this feels. Okay.
Okay.
Shame. Shameful.
to me, I mean, shameful is shame on me for having these negative thoughts about myself
Mm-hmm.
when I've been given a blessed life.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you try on that feeling of shame, does it feel like, yep, I have that. Yep, that's in there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going a level or two down from sadness. We're getting even deeper, and that's a great thing, because when you know these parts of you, they don't control you. You said you wanted control, right? And control is an illusion until we do this inner work. And so you're right, doing exactly the right things. Yeah. Feeling into that shame, that sadness, just letting it be there for a bit. Where do you feel that when you tune into your body now? What do you feel when you think about the shame?
I mean, I feel the same, with the tightness and so forth in my chest,
Yeah.
throat.
Yeah. So this, what you're feeling in your body, that's a signal. Remember I talked about earlier that the antidote to trauma, right? The shame, the sadness, all of these things is a soft muscle body, right? And so throughout your day, I've given these self-connection practices as homework to check in with yourself, to spend 5 minutes a day to check in throughout your day. Where am I tight and constricted? Where am I holding my breath? Where am I in knots? Where am I tense and tight? Because that's your subconscious mind. That's your mind. If once you tune into your body, you're going to notice, oh, look, my mind is telling me disempowering stuff. And I'm feeling sad and shameful. And whatever other emotions might be in there. I am feeling less than. I am feeling unworthy. And so that's the awareness piece. So you're getting more and more awareness, which is awesome. Yeah. 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 And so it's like I was talking about with Carissa earlier about it's the goal is not to be peaceful all the time, because that's a fantasy. And if we're comparing ourselves against a fantasy, we will never feel satisfied. We will never feel enough, because we're comparing ourselves to a fantasy. And the acceptance you talked about, acceptance what is, it's like, oh, I notice this coming up right now. I want to tell one little story and then we can take a break. Is that good? You guys bladders hanging on?
Yes. I just wanted to, if you could connect the dots on the antidote being, you can come back to it if you want, but antidote being a soft muscle body, please.
Yeah, I will get it into that a little bit in a little bit. So I want to give an example of what it's like to be in tune with all of these parts of ourselves. Not like, oh, I have it all together and now I don't have any problems anymore and I only feel good all the time and I never take anything personally and I never get triggered. Okay. And soft muscle body will be a part of this. So this weekend, I talked a little bit about this, about a friend whose birthday party I wasn't invited to. And that made me sad. I felt hurt. I understood though. I didn't take it personally. It was sad. And also, there was another thing that happened. I have a friend who moved to another state and has been trying to get a group of us to come and visit for the weekend for this 2-day concert experience, and we'll have lots of fun. And it's next weekend, and I would prefer not to go because so much of my energy is tied up in everything that I'm doing to prepare for this course. I want to stay on track and keep all of my efforts and energy really focused on this. I'm enjoying it. And that's a 4-5 day trip. Plus, so there's the time and the monetary commitment as well. And I told a couple other friends that I would go like a week ahead, a week beforehand. And then I was like, wait a second, they're planning on leaving on Thursday and I have a class on Thursday night. And they're like, oh, well, we'll just get an Airbnb instead of driving all the way through. We'll get an Airbnb. You can do your class from there. So they're working with me, my friends that we were going to road trip. And I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just fly out on Saturday instead. And, it's just getting complicated. And so then I'm feeling guilty. Like I want to show up. I want to do this. I don't want to disappoint my friend that's been, like working behind the scenes to get this to happen, and other people have been bailing. And so I feel like there's less of an incentive to go now because I was like, oh, it's a whole crew. It's like a family vacation. I got to be there. And so I'm like, I feel like there's less incentive, but I don't want to let her down. And so instead of me being honest, like 100% clean, honest within myself about why I'm choosing not to go, I instead came up with bullshit excuses. And I pointed the finger out there and I blamed out there. And I said things like, I reached back in my mind of all of this evidence of all of these times where that friend didn't include me like I wanted to be included, where I didn't really feel like it really mattered that much if I was at their baby shower, their, these different events where I felt kind of slighted. And I was like, well, why should I go out of my way for them? And I told my other friend that was like organizing everything. And I was like, you know what? They didn't do this for me. So I don't see why I should have to, blah, blah, like, and I was reacting to hurt. I was reacted to woundedness within myself, a feeling that I didn't matter, that I wasn't needed. And it was coming from my friend's birthday, rejection, and then this. And instead of saying, well, it's the time and the money commitment that is squeezing me and taking responsibility for that, I'm pointing out there. And I had to ask myself inside, is this the energy that I want to be coming from? Is this energy going to get me what I want in life? Because it's a feeling of resentment, of self-righteousness, like it's an energy of revenge. Well, you didn't do that, and so I'm not going to go. Why should I do that? Instead of going, wait a second, that's in the past. And I asked myself, this is a question I ask myself a lot to like check myself. I'm like, if money and time were not an issue, if I had money and time freedom, as much of it as I wanted, and it wasn't an issue, would I still be making this decision to not go? And the answer was no. I would be going. So I don't know if those dots are connecting, that I'm taking responsibility for it. Because if what that says is, if I had all the money and time, I would go. So that means the excuse that I was using was a lie. It was not true. And so to take responsibility for it, it's like, no, I'm not going because I don't feel like I really have the time and the money to feel good about going. I want to stay focused on my project instead of putting the blame out there and using that as an excuse. That's not responsible. Now, I didn't know I was doing that until my self-connection practice. And I tuned inside myself and I felt those contracted, dense places within me. And I was like, ooh, okay, what's this? Let's look at this. Let's feel into this. And I was able to use all these processing things that I've been sharing with you all to bring that to the surface and explore it and look at it, expand it, contract it, take it apart, like Tony Stark does with the gloves. Like, let me expand it, look in here, and then I'll put it, back and ask myself that question, ask myself some powerful questions, like the loving redirection part that you did, Parissa. And that money question is a good one to ask yourself in those times. If money wasn't an issue, if I had $1 billion, would I still feel this way? If time was an issue, I had all the time, would I still feel this way about that person, right? If whatever wasn't an issue, would I still feel this way? So, relaxed muscle body, right? As long as I'm not tuning in and noticing these tense, tight, constricted places, then they're going to stay there. So by noticing them and becoming aware, I can now explore it. And just like we did at the end of Tuesday's class, Parissa, you were the only one there, but there's the recording at the end. We did a process where we welcomed it in. Okay, let me feel this more. Let me permission this feeling that's tied to shame, sadness, right? Catherine, those were your 2 words. Whatever emotion I'm feeling, let me feel that. A trick is to let the thoughts go away. First, we want to see the thoughts. We want to see all the thoughts and the emotion, everything that go with it, just like we did in this exercise. And then stay with the sensation, let the thoughts go away. Catherine, for you, notice if you're looking up. That's you thinking. Instead, look down. Look down into your body, feel into your body. Because I was watching what your eyes were doing in both of those. That's what your eyes do. If you're looking up, you're thinking. If you're looking down, you're feeling. And that's not necessarily the same for everyone, but for Catherine it is. And then, can I let this go? Can I let just a little bit of this go? Can I breathe through this and create more openness, more softness, more expansion? Can I let go of this tight fist within me that's holding on to things or that's pushing things down, right? Can I let that go and come to a soft place in my body? Because that tightness, that contraction, that's the trauma that lives in your body. That's where trauma lives, right? And so if we can check in throughout our day, you want to get into a practice as you become more aware, more awake, more present. You're noticing And it's a continuous process of letting go, softening, letting go, softening, letting go, softening, letting go. What's happening with my jaw? What's happening with my forehead? Am I furrowed here, or can I expand and open? Can I expand and open throughout my body? And breathe. Posture plays a huge role in this. If I'm on my couch, if I'm like this, you guys get to see my mismatch. If I'm like this, there's no way I can breathe properly. My ribs are coming down into my diaphragm and it's cutting off my breath, which means I'm going to be breathing up into my chest, and my these muscles in my neck, my traps, are now going to be helping with the breathing, and that's going to create tightness in my neck and my traps, because this isn't how we're supposed to breathe. We're supposed to be breathing down into our belly, down into our diaphragms. But if our body is collapsed, or if we're like sucking in our guts all the time, we're not able to do that. We got to soften the gut. That doesn't mean at the right times you can't be, putting it in and strutting your stuff. But at other times, you gotta let that go. You gotta soft. Let it go. Accept my body as it is in this moment.
How do you let things go, though, if you don't believe them?
If you don't believe them?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Can you clarify that?
If you don't believe these things that you want to let go.
Well, if you don't believe it, I would think it would be easy to let go.
Okay.
So what's the belief? That you can't let it go?
Right. Yeah.
If you don't believe that you can let it go?
Right. If you don't believe it, like let's say, oh, I'm not smart. So if you don't believe that you're smart, how do you let it go?
Well, we don't want a spiritual bypass, right? And so first of all, it's noticing, having the awareness, and then doing the inner work, and then letting it go. And so the past 2.5 weeks, I've been teaching ways to tune in and process and feel and permission it to be there.
Okay.
Right. So for instance, that belief, like I don't believe, what would you say? I don't believe I'm smart. Is that what you said?
I was using that as an example. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking at that, going, okay, when I have that thought that I don't believe I'm smart, how do I feel? How does that feel in my body? How does that then cause me to act? Right. So we're exploring all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we can shift it, but we got to go into it first. Right. So we've been on here for a bit. And we never took a break, and we're like 15 minutes till close. I didn't realize we were going to talk so long about all this stuff. So
A lot of good stuff today, though.
Yeah. So are you all okay if we just keep going for the next 15 minutes then?
I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay. And if you need to get up and use the restroom or something, like, feel free to go. So some of the things I was peppering in that we were going to talk about, we're not going to talk about that today. It's a bigger conversation. So the biggest takeaway so far that I want you all to have from this is to be questioning what are emotions and what are thoughts, because we mistake thoughts for our emotions. And all three of you got to have that experience of expressing what you thought was an emotion, but it was really a thought or a conclusion, right? Like unworthy. You could definitely feel that in your body if you tuned in, but it's not an emotion, it's a conclusion. You've concluded that you're unworthy because of something else. And what are the emotions that are there? And so I gave you that emotion wheel last time, and that's a good way to go about it. Even on the emotion wheels, there's often things on there that are actually thoughts and conclusions. Like stress, like this is not a wheel, but this is an emotion thing. You can see a lot of the emotions. Is it backwards?
No.
No.
You can see it.
Yep.
But like afraid is an emotion. Vulnerable, confused isn't even really an emotion, but we got bewildered, worried, cautious, nervous, under hurt. Hurt is a main emotion. Like these are the main emotions: angry, sad, hurt, embarrassed, happy. And depending on which emotion wheels that you use, they have different main emotions. Under sad, there's disappointed, mournful, regretful, depressed, paralyzed, pessimistic, tearful, dismayed, disillusioned. Under angry, we've got grumpy, frustrated, annoyed, defensive, spiteful, impatient, disgusted, offended, irritated.
Hmm.
I want you to notice, of all of these emotions here, the main emotions and the other, how many of them are positive? We've got one column of positive. So if you're only allowing yourself to be in this area and not allowing yourself to feel and experience all of these other things because they're negative and I'm supposed to be positive, this really common thing, Catherine, super common. What does that mean? What are you doing to yourself by only allowing yourself to feel these emotions, to really feel them?
You're watering yourself down.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you talked about earlier, like knowing yourself on deeper levels. Can't do that. You can't do that if you're letting all of this go. If you really want to know yourself, you got to know your whole self. You are denying, putting down, exiling, blaming, shaming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5/6 of yourself. Imagine if you broke your body into 6 different areas and you said one area is good and the rest is bad. That's what you do when you only allow yourself to acknowledge this part of you and the rest gets pushed down because I'm supposed to be positive. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. What other phrases do we have like that? Particularly for women. Smile. You look prettier if you smile. Turn that frown upside down. All right, I've got one more thing I want to talk about. And this, I wanted to talk specifically about this because of you, Parissa. So I want to talk about the difference between sympathy, empathy, and compassion. All right. So sympathy looks like, aw, poor you. This is so sad what you're going through. Poor them. I just feel so much for them. I feel so much for you. So this is not an empowered state for anyone. You're seeing the other person as a victim. And also, what tends to happen when we're in sympathy is we're lowering ourselves to the other person's vibration. And now we're in that, oh, poor, this is so sad. This is terrible. I can't believe that happened to you. They're an asshole. What a narcissist. We're getting in the mud with someone else. We're getting right underneath. They've got a boulder on them. And instead of helping them get that boulder off, we're like, let me lay down here with you. It's so sad that you're down here and you have a boulder on you. Let me get under the boulder with you. Sound familiar? Yeah. Paressa? You're talking about this on Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
They're not happy, so I can't be happy either. And I'm responsible for fixing them. So then we go to empathy. Empathy is great. Empathy is a good thing, right? Empathy is, you know what? I know what you're feeling. I've felt that before too. I totally get it. I am feeling what you are feeling. And this is similar to sympathy, where we're getting into that same vibration, but then we're staying there. Right? So I can feel it, I can empathize, but then I'm taking it on. This is the realm of like energy vampires, right? Where you're empathizing with someone and their terrible stories, and then how do you feel when you leave that interaction? Feel drained, right? Now it feels like you've taken that on. So you may have called yourself an empath or heard people referring to themselves as empaths. And it's usually worn like a badge of honor. Like, I'm an empath. I'm so sensitive that I can feel other people's emotions. But then I have those emotions. And so then I have to be introverted because I take on other people's emotions and I can't put it down. I'm not able to let it go, like we talked about earlier. So that's empathy. And then there's compassion. So compassion is where we want to go as far as like when we're listening to people, when we're being there for people, when we're holding space for people. Sympathy, we're like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. We're reinforcing a victim story and we're getting right under the rock with them. Empathy, it's maybe less about that, but it's like, oh yeah, I get it, I feel it, and we can take these things on. Compassion, we can take ourselves to the level that someone's at. So if someone else is sad, we can go to that place of sad and be empathetic, but we don't stay there. We don't take it on. And we're able to take inspired action because we're coming from a place of like compassion, but we're not believing in their victim story. Not to say that people can't be victims, Okay. Because, yeah, people are victims. Children in particular are victims, right? They're dependent. They get victimized all the time. Women get victimized walking down a dark alley. At a certain point, we have to move past that identity of victim for ourselves. We have to do it for ourselves and move into a place of empowerment, a place of choice. So when we have compassion, we can have we can empathize with that experience, yet not take it on and not reinforce that they're a victim of their circumstances either. And in the video that I sent you, we talked about being with. I can be with, and I don't have to any triggers that come up from me, because that's what empathy is, right? Empathy is, oh my God, I feel that too. And it brings up our own stuff. And now we're identifying with our own stuff. And that's why we leave the interaction and we think, oh, I have their stuff now. How to get rid of their stuff? No, that's our stuff. That's our stuff that got triggered within us. And that's why we're feeling low or down or like we've been drained by an energy vampire, because that's our own stuff coming up. And so when we're coming from responsible, we realize, oh yeah, that's my own stuff. And so when we're being with, we can notice, oh, look, I've got this thing coming up. And then we can take that thing and we can set it aside because we're holding space for someone else. We're not getting in the mud with them. We're not getting under the rock with them. We're holding space. And so we talked a little bit about at the last class, away from motivation and toward motivation. And so we've got away from empathy. And away from empathy looks different ways. One of the ways that it looks is that you feel responsible or that you have to fix other people's emotions. When you're coming from compassion, I can be with, but it's from detachment. It's not my job to fix them, to coach them, to make them feel better. We often feel that we need to like fix someone or make them feel better or spiritually bypass by saying, well, think on the bright side. Well, why don't you think positively about it? That's all spiritually bypassing and invalidating. Instead, we can be with. And being with means I don't have to do anything here. I don't have to fix this person. I don't have to solve their problem for them. I don't have to carry this worry for them. I can just listen and know that they're on their path and they're going to figure their stuff out. And if they ask for specific support for me, I can tune into my inner compass and I can say yes or no. But it's not my job to carry their stuff around, to fix their stuff, to worry their stuff. And we'll talk more about ways to let things go next week. So another way that this away from empathy shows up is you're tired, you're exhausted, you're overwhelmed, you're burnt out. You may have heard of compassion fatigue. A lot of people in helping professions, like psychotherapists and nurses and doctors, they get compassion fatigue. And it's because they're taking on other people's stuff. And you can be compassionate and giving, and your own stuff can get in the way, much like I talked about with my little story that I shared of like, well, they weren't there for me. Look at me. I'm giving, I'm being compassionate, and no one's taking my advice. No one seems to be appreciating it. And in doing so we can lower our own vibration because of that. And that makes us tired, exhausted, overwhelmed. We can get burnt out just because we're giving so much, being so compassionate, so empathetic, and not putting boundaries on our own energy. You know, the person that's just like always needing to talk about, and that they're never getting past it because you're giving them sympathy. You're giving them positive reinforcement for having that problem. That's what sympathy does. That's connection. That's why people go to bars to wallow away with other people with the same problems. And they all stay stuck. So that sympathy can give you burnout. And so another way that this comes across is like being taken advantage of, allowing yourself to be taken advantage of. And then you build resentment. And then you lower your own vibration.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then another way this comes about is when you are trying to lead someone to a higher vibration. You're like, look at me, look how positive I am. You know, come and live here with me. Look at the peace and the clarity and the joy I'm experiencing. And you're trying to lead them. You want them to come with you, but they're not ready. That's like trying to like force something. They don't want it. They're not there. And you can't go from shame and apathy up to peace, love, joy, just like that. You have to go up this ladder of emotions. You have to go up, and we'll talk about that in the next class. And the only way to go through that quickly is with a coach, you know, a therapist, something like that, to help you like work through the stuff. But it's like you have to go one rung at a time. You can't just jump up here. And so if you're trying to lead someone to this, you know, clear place and they're not coming, then what is that going to then do to your own energy and your own positive thoughts and emotions? More than likely, you're going to internalize it and you're going to make yourself go down to a low vibration, to a lower vibration emotion, right? And when I say low vibration, high vibration, I want to make sure that it doesn't mean that one is good and one is bad, that one is right and one is wrong, or that you can stay at high vibration all the time. That's not what it's like to be human, right? We're all the way up and down. We go up and down this ladder all the time. But when we do more of this inner work, we're staying up at those higher levels of contentment, joy, peace, belonging, compassion more often. So the overall question is like, are you taking on energy of other people, right? Rather than being able to release it? Are you trying to fix and heal people in the process when they don't want it, when they're not ready for it? And then knowing like, where does my energy end and another person's begins, right? So that you're not picking up on other people's stuff when you know, like, this is my stuff versus their stuff. And we'll go over that when we do more energy work kind of stuff, tuning into our energy, other people's energies, and then like dealing with vampires, because there are people out there that just want to like give you their sob story and they just drain you of your energy. And you just have to stay away. You just have to get away from those people. Like, you can be in compassion as much as possible and being with, and it just still drains you, and you just have to like limit your amount of time with those people or just not be in their field at all, right? And so these are all unconscious things that we're talking about that we're making conscious. So that's the last piece that I wanted to share for today. Before we go, I'd love to hear like um what, if anything, came up for you around that piece of teaching.
Yeah, I would love to know how to embody compassion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some tools, some best practices, something like that.
Yep.
Because I can think of a few people who I could use that with.
Mm-hmm. We'll be next week. That's next week.
Okay.
Yep.
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 Thank you.
So I'd like to go around and just share like a minute, more or less. I'll time it, but if it goes, finish your sentence, finish your idea. My biggest takeaway from today is, so whoever would like to. Tiffany's like, I'll do it. I'll start.
I will. So I think that for me, the biggest takeaway was just walking through the be have do and getting clear on or clearer or creating a point A, of just knowing what that looks like and working with that.
What piece about that in general that you got from it? Like, what did you get from it the most?
That power is a thought.
Mm.
Power is a thought and worthy is a conclusion. Those were both powerful realizations
And
for
here,
me.
I'll also let you know, strength is a feeling.
Mm.
It can be, depending on how you use it, it can be a thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, but strength is a feeling.
Mm.
Yeah. Because power presupposes powerlessness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh shit, totally. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was,
So yeah, it's the difference between external and internal.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because power presupposes ourselves in relation to something external. Cool.
Yep. That's my minute.
Carissa, would you like to share next? Your
Yes.
big takeaway from today?
Yes. So my biggest takeaway was when somebody you care enough about is raging, you want to transmute that energy, be with their energy, be with their feelings and their thoughts, mirror it back, encourage more of that, ensure they feel complete, and ask if you can share your truth. And ask in multiple ways to get that yes a few times and to kind of clarify what kind of yes you're looking for, like yes to not interrupting me, da 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 da. And the sharing my truth, I started because, like, I added a star there because how are you going to know your truth if you don't know yourself? And that's why I have to maintain a relationship with myself in order to be able to share my truth. Because even though can I share my truth comes at the last bit of that, it does not mean it has the least value, because a relationship goes two ways. So it should be just as important. But I have to maintain a relationship with myself, and maintenance is like daily, if not weekly. I mean, if I let too much time go by,
Okay.
I'm going to lose
All
that
right.
connection. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Catherine. I think you guys can't hear the timer, so I'll ding. I'll start doing this for now on. Can you hear that?
Yep.
All right.
No, I pretty much was along the same lines as Tiffany. I just thought it was helpful to be able to recognize and think about um who we want to be, and then if we are these things, what would we have in our life? What kind of feeling would we have inside? And that to me was what I got the most out of.
Okay. Awesome. So, Catherine, I recommend that you watch Tuesday's class, and at the end, we do a process. Again, it's been building off of everything that we're doing, and you can tune in to that feeling of shame and sadness, and take yourself through that release process. That's a letting go process. Parissa, you talked about ways to let go. I think it was, I don't know when you talked about letting go. That is a letting go process. And so you can watch that at the end and just follow through it. It's kind of like a meditation that you tune into yourself. Since you're getting so good at like really connecting to yourself and the energy in your body and the emotions, I think it'll be a lot easier for you to do that than it was a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a muscle. Just so you know, it's a muscle that you build, right? It's foreign to most people. Most people don't know what it's like to feel into their bodies. It's called embodiment, right? To be in your body, to feel into your body. Most of us are outside of our bodies, and it's hard to be in our bodies because it's uncomfortable in there, because that's where that shame and that sadness live. And so that's why your mind has been trying to take you out of it. But you already know that strategy hasn't been working. And so we're going to do a different strategy. And so if you listen to that, just let me know how that goes. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I will send some sort of homework out for you all. I don't know what it'll be yet, though. All right. Cool. All right.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.